Hello everybody, and welcome to Sports Source, your number one source for sports, and today we're ranking my list for the top 25 NBA players. Now, this is going into the 2019-2020 season. I want to do 3 videos of this. I want to do one before the season, in the middle of the season, after the season, and kind of compare. But I've done this video. I did a top 10, ranking the top 10 NBA players not too long ago, and that video sucks. It's one of my most viewed videos, but I do not like that video whatsoever, and it still gets a lot of views and a lot of comments every day. So thank you for that. But I'm hoping that this video does very well because I put a lot of time and effort into this list. My last list, the reason I didn't like that video, my top 10 video, is because it was very rushed, and I hate that list. And it's just a bad video. So I'm trying to improve myself, and the way I'm going to be doing this list is it's based on my opinions, and I'm not going to make everyone happy. So if you have your own opinions, leave that down in the comment section below. We can respectfully debate, but I'm not going to be able to make everyone happy. What I value in NBA players may be different from you. This list is mostly, I may break these rules a couple times. There may be some exceptions, but most of this list, I value mostly two-way ability and team success. So that's also mixed in with skill, but if there's two players who I think that are similar in skill, then I usually take the two-way ability or the winning, because that's what I value in NBA players. Another thing is there's 3 players missing from this list that you might question, and the first one is Kristaps Porzingis, Kevin Durant, and then Klay Thompson. So those are the 3 players that won't be on the list. The reason for Porzingis is he hasn't played last year, so there's nothing to really go off of, and he'll be in the middle of the season ranking and in the end of the season ranking. Klay might be in the end of the season ranking depending on where he plays, but I'm not including players that haven't played all of last season and aren't playing all of this season. Klay may come back, but he's not on the list, so before you guys type that they're not here, they would be here, but they're just not. So we're going to get to this list, but before that, smash that like button and subscribe for more NBA news and discussions. Without further ado, let's begin the video. Kicking off this list at 25, we have Lamarcus Aldridge. Now, he is 33 years old, and he's still putting in work for the San Antonio Spurs. He's one of the best big men in the NBA, in my opinion, and he was an all-star last year. He's on a winning team for the San Antonio Spurs. They made the playoffs last year. They did get kicked out of the first round, but he had some great moments last season where he put up some high totals. You know, he's proven that he could be a great big man. He's one of the best post scorers in the game still at the ripe age at 30. Coming in at number 24 is DeMar DeRozan. Now, the Raptors championship run made DeRozan look really bad because for years and years, DeMar DeRozan's been the best player on that team, and they haven't gone that far under his leadership, and he's kind of been known as a playoff choker when he was with the Raptors. And then he leaves, Kawhi comes in, and they win a championship in his very first year. But regardless, DeMar DeRozan was overshadowed by that, and he actually had a good year with the Spurs. He improved his playmaking. He's still a very good ISO scorer and mid-range shooter, and he's still terrible from beyond the three-point arc, but I could look past that, and I still think that he's a top 25 player in the NBA. Coming in at number 23 is Draymond Green. Now, it's really hard to rank Draymond Green because of his unique skill set and the stuff that he does that doesn't show up on the box score. So some people rank him ridiculously high, and some people rank him disrespectfully low. But, you know, I think that 23 is a good spot for him, and I think that he's the X factor on an all-time great team, and I hope that he has a great year with the Warriors with Klay, Durant, and Boogie gone from that team. At number 22, I have Ben Simmons. Now, Ben Simmons is one of the most hated players in the NBA, and it's really hard to rank him because of how much his lack of a jump shot hinders an offense and the flow of an offense. But regardless, he's still an all-star without a jump shot and one of the best passers in the NBA today. At number 21, I have Donovan Mitchell. Now, he's a great young player. He's going to his 3rd season, and he's accomplished a lot. He's a great scorer. He's on a top team in the West, and he needs to improve his playmaking and elevate himself to the next level overall with his scoring. I think he will because the Jazz got way better in the offseason. I think that the scoring load will be off of him. I think that the pressure will be not on, but I still think that he'll strive and he'll improve going into next season. At number 20, I have Rudy Gobert. Now, he's the back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year and one of the best rim protectors in the NBA. He's a defensive anchor on a top team in the West. And, you know, Rudy Gobert would be higher if he actually had an offensive game. You know, he can't shoot for the life of him, and he just doesn't take those shots. That's just not his game. That doesn't need to be his game. But he's just not higher up on this list because, you know, even though he's one of the best defensive players in the league, he is not terrific on offense. Now, at number 19, I have Jrue Holiday. Now, most people might think that this is very high for Jrue Holiday, but he was on the all-defensive first team last year. He was top 5 in assists and a 20-point-per-game scorer. Now, he hasn't had too much team success with the New Orleans Pelicans and hasn't proved he could be a leader on a playoff team, but hopefully this year that he could be the leader on that young Pelicans team and maybe even lead them to a playoff spot. Number 18, I have Kemba Walker. Now, Kemba is a great scorer, don't get me wrong. He was an all-star starter, and he has made the Hornets partly relevant for years now, but he has lax defense, and we haven't seen him on a winning team yet. He's barely played in the playoffs throughout his whole career, so hopefully with a full season in Boston and probably going to be in the playoffs with that team and on a winning team, we can see how he performs under that spotlight and see what he can do. At number 17, I have Blake Griffin. Now, Blake completely changed his game from just a dunker on the Los Angeles Clippers to a great player on the Pistons, and he had a career year last year. He improved his 3-ball, shot creation, and playmaking, and he doesn't really have the greatest defense and doesn't have the greatest team around him in Detroit. They did get Derrick Rose, which is a huge signing, but overall, I don't think that he should be higher up on this list. I think that this is the perfect spot for him. He's not as elite as the top guys, but he's better than the guys that I've already ranked, in my opinion. Coming in at number 16 is Victor Oladipo, now one of the league's best two-way players, but he unfortunately got injured last season for the rest of the season and wasn't there to help the Pacers in the playoffs, and they got swept by the Boston Celtics, and they really looked like they needed him, even though they were a top seed with him out. You know, they were struggling offensively, and they just needed that closer, and that's what Victor Oladipo was for this team, and it was a huge blow to them, and it just showed the league how valuable Victor Oladipo is to the team. Now, I anticipate that he returns back to full form when he comes back, and I think that he's a top 3 shooting guard in this league. Coming in at number 15 is Bradley Beal. Now, with John Wall out, Beal had lots of great moments and elevated his game. He had a 25, 5, and 5, but the Wizards do look like they'll be a bottom feeder next season. Plus, Beal doesn't have great defense, and if he did have better defense, that would put him above these other guys, but I like him at 15. He's a great scorer, but he just needs to improve his defensive game, and the team's success kind of weighs him down in this rankings list. Coming in at number 14 is Karl Anthony Towns. Now, in my opinion, he's one of the best centers in the NBA, and he's a little bit underappreciated. He gets a lot of hate, but he doesn't have a great team around him in Minnesota. He's one of the most versatile scorers, if not the most versatile scorers among centers in the NBA. He's a monster rebounder, but he needs to improve his pick and roll defense IQ if he wants to get higher up on this list. That's one of his main concerns, is his defensive IQ. He also just needs to have a better winning team, which I think the Minnesota Timberwolves can make the playoffs next season. It's not completely out of the realm of possibility, but it all depends on if Karl Anthony Towns has a great season next year. Coming at number 13 is Jimmy Butler. Now, Jimmy Butler is an amazing defender and shot creator, one of the best closers in the NBA, but there's a belief around the league that Jimmy Butler is a bad leader and a locker room cancer, mostly because of his time with the Philadelphia 76ers and the Minnesota Timberwolves, but hopefully he could prove all the haters wrong, push past that stigma, and lead the Miami Heat to the playoffs next season. Coming in at number 12 is Russell Westbrook. Now, he is one of the most controversial players in the NBA. Lots of fans either love him or hate him. His shot IQ is very questionable, as well as his ability to, lead a team to a championship. But regardless, he is still a triple-double machine, and he goes hard every single night. Coming in at number 11 is Kyrie Irving. Now, he's one of the most clutch players in the NBA, great overall score, and the best handles in the league. Lots of people consider Kyrie a bad leader after what happened with him on the Celtics, but hopefully on the Brooklyn Nets, he could prove everyone wrong, and he could just be that ISO god that we thought he was going to be in Boston, and just truly take over Brooklyn while KD is out with injury for the whole season. At number 10, I have Nikola Jokic. He's one of the best passing big men we have ever seen. He's improved defensively since last season, but still not amazing, and he could score in the post and get physical, or he can space the floor and hit a three-pointer. He's the best player on one of the best teams in the NBA, but his defense and athleticism and overall aggressiveness are what hold him back on this list. At number 9, I have Joel Embiid. Now, Embiid played great in the regular season. He proved to be one of the most dominant two-way big men in the game, and some people think that he's going to be an MVP candidate and a Defensive Player of the Year candidate next season. But in the playoffs, though, he struggled defensively, and he also struggled to take over games offensively for the Sixers, and, he also struggled to lead his team to the conference finals over the Toronto Raptors. Coming in at number 8 is Damian Lillard. He had a bounce-back year after being swept in the first round of last year in the playoffs from the New Orleans Pelicans, but he could take over games. He's a great leader. He can elevate his team and is also a deadly scoring threat and the second best PG in the league, in my opinion. At number 7, we have Paul George. Now, he is an MVP candidate and Defensive Player of the Year candidate last year, and he's also one of the best two-way players in the league. But he struggled against the Blazers in the playoffs, and the previous year he struggled against the Jazz in the playoffs, and that's one of the things that hinders him. It's also his health has been a question. We don't know what he's going to play like for the Clippers next season, but regardless, you can't argue that he's an amazing player and a top 10 player in the NBA. At number 6, I have Anthony Davis, one of the most dominant players in the NBA. He never had too much success with the Pelicans because of the lack of management and the lack of building around him, but hopefully he could help lead the Lakers to the finals and to the promised land once again. He's one of the best defenders in the NBA, and he was averaging 30 points per game before its minutes restriction in New Orleans, so hopefully we could see Anthony Davis ball out and just be a beast for the Lakers next season, especially with DeMarcus Cousins being out with an ACL injury. At number 5, I have James Harden. He's been in serious MVP talks since 2014, and he's even won an MVP, but he is not high on this list because of his defense and play style. Even though he averaged 36 points per game last year, I still can't put him ahead of some of the guys ahead of him on this list. At number 4, I have Steph Curry. Curry is an amazing leader and the greatest shooter of all time. He has amazing playmaking abilities, and what has kept the Warriors successful for this long has been his unselfishness and his willingness to involve others into the offense while still taking over games over long periods of times. He can heat up quickly, and he's just an amazing player overall. He's been on a finals team. He hasn't won a finals MVP, which might be holding him back a little bit, and he's not the greatest defensively, but he's not really supposed to be because he's a 6'3" scrawny point guard. At number 3, I have Giannis, who is the reigning MVP, and he was a top defensive player of the year candidate, highest field goal percentage in the paint, and one of, if not the most athletic player in the NBA, and one of the scariest players in the whole league. Now, he didn't shoot great from 3 last season, but he's been working in the gym with Karl this offseason, so we will have to see how his 3-ball progresses throughout the season, and also how the Milwaukee Bucks do after this season, after, they've lost Malcolm Brogdon and guys like that, so we'll have to see how he performs and how the team overall performs and if they can make it to the finals. At number 2, I have LeBron James. Now, the Lakers missing the playoffs last year and him driving management to trade virtually the whole roster for Anthony Davis really shaped a bad image for himself. But regardless, he still puts up great numbers like he always does, and his poor defensive efforts last season really hurt his stock in this list. I think that he's one of the best players in the NBA. I think that he's a top 2 player in the NBA of all time. But just on this list, he's getting older, he's starting to decline. I'm really excited to see how he plays with the Lakers next season, if he's going to take a step back and let Anthony Davis do his thing, or if he's going to try to take over and prove that he is the best player in the NBA and defend his crown. Now, at number 1 is Kawhi Leonard, I think, who is the best player in the NBA. Now, this playoffs have shaped a lot of image for him, a lot of good image, that he is the best player in the NBA, and lots of people share the same opinion with me. Now, before Kevin Durant got injured, I think that he took over in the regular season. He would have been my pick, but just what Kawhi did for the playoffs. He's the reigning champ, best defender in the league, amazing shot creator. He improved his 3-ball and playmaking, 2-time finals MVP. He stopped Giannis in last year's playoffs, and he stopped LeBron James in the 2013 playoffs en route to the championship. Kawhi is just a stone-cold killer that no one can stop. Thank you for watching. What do you think of my top 25 NBA players list? Let me know down below your own list. What did I get wrong? What did I get right? Let me know down in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to join Sports Source Nation and to never miss an upload. But that's all from me now, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Take care and goodbye.